You are here to do something, to create something, to be something, to shift something. Everyone has a purpose. And I think that our lives will take us in these beautiful paths and these beautiful journeys to figure out what that is. And I know that that was part of my path. And so there was a little bit of fear of like fully cutting the cord of like that initial season of my identity and actually letting go fully to step into what God put me here to create.
All right, we are live. I'm so excited for this conversation, and honestly to get to know you better in the conversation. That's been my experience with the guests, is I'm like, I never knew that story. I never knew that about you. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Excited
Yeah.
to have a juicy conversation.
Yeah, so I thought we'd start with your story, and I'd love to go back like even before entrepreneurship. I know you were an athlete, and that was like, that's a big part of your personality and your journey of like heavy masculine energy to the feminine, and I know you and I have connected around that before. So let's start with your story.
Yeah, beautiful. So I grew up in Canada. I think that surprises and shocks a lot of people. So I always like to start with that. And you'll hear the accent come out throughout the interview. When I was 3 years old, I was skating on the ice. And I was about 4 years old when my father put me in competitive hockey. There wasn't a league for women at the time, obviously, 4 years old. So I was playing with 7-year-olds. And I remember him literally having to come out on the ice to pick me up, to get me off, because the play would be going from one end to the next. And I was too slow to get to the other end. So I grew up playing competitive hockey, boys hockey, the highest level girls hockey that you can imagine. Like imagine 6 nights a week playing competitive sports. And so that was my entire life. It was all I knew. It was how I created all of my discipline habits and learned self-love, and I learned how to be really dedicated to something, and I learned teamwork and everything that you can imagine. I played hockey throughout university, throughout college, all throughout high school, volleyball, basketball, baseball, everything that you can probably imagine under the sun. And so when it came time for me to go to school, it was kind of this natural progression for me to take sports, something related to sports. I had such a passion in the sports industry. And so I ended up taking sport business management, which was a really great amalgamation of learning how to run sports businesses, Nike, sporting goods, things like that, all the way through to professional sport. I graduated that class, one of 5 women in a class of 80 men, and all of us were applying for the exact same position with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, which is the governing body for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Toronto Raptors, Live Nation, Toronto Argonauts, and TFC, which is our soccer club. And so I ended up doing sports sponsorship with them. Fast forward maybe a year, and it was everybody's dream job except for mine. Yeah.
Tell me about that a little. Like, why did you hate it?
Yeah. I'm not meant to do a 9 to 5. You get that. And probably everyone listening to the show can resonate with that. And someone may argue me with that comment, but that's my truth. I'm not meant to do someone else's 9 to 5, to have somebody else tell me what to do, when I can do it, when I can take time off, my set salary that I'm allowed to make, suppressing my ideas. And it just didn't feel like living. And I remember one day looking at the calendar to book some time off, and I had like 2 days left. And I'm sitting there with a space heater underneath my feet because I'm so cold, with a blanket on my lap, sitting in a cubicle, staring out at a GO train coming and going all day. And I'm like, this is not living. This is not my life. My dad was an entrepreneur. My uncle was a very successful serial entrepreneur throughout his life. That's a whole other episode. So I had seen what it looks like to bet on yourself and to take those risks. And so maybe I had a little bit of an edge or advantage there, but I just knew that I needed to bet on myself. And I remember one day sitting with my dad when I was really young, a beautiful sports car drove by, and I said, Dad, if I'm a doctor one day, can I afford to buy that car? He's like, maybe if you're like a plastic surgeon or something really specialized, maybe. And I'm like, well, what if I'm a lawyer? Lawyers make a lot of money. And he's like, maybe if you marry a lawyer and you're a doctor, then maybe you guys could have that car and a great life. And I was like, but what if I'm a business owner like you? I'm like Uncle Bob. And he goes, you lit up. And from that moment, he's like, I knew that you were destined to run your own business. And so fast forward, I left 19 years old. I started my own business in the beauty industry. You'll hear me out of breath because I'm 28 weeks pregnant right now.
Yeah, you need a break.
I was on stage the other week and I'm like, how am I doing this? Started my first business. Didn't know exactly what I was doing. There's, of course, no roadmap to success. It was a lot of fall on your face and figure it out as you go along. but betting on yourself and just knowing that I still would choose this every single day, even through all of the hardships, versus having somebody else give me this paycheck and tell me the number that's going to be on the front of that and when I can work and where I have to go and what I have to do. That was not my definition of freedom. And so that led me to a multiple 7-figure business in the beauty industry. It went really well. We can tell that story. And then COVID shut us down. We weren't allowed to run any of the services throughout COVID. And so I said, well, what's next? What does God have in store for me next? And it took me down the path of coaching and personal development and a lot of the stuff that you talk about and that you do, like a really, really beautiful understanding of myself and discovering who I am and a lot of personal development. And that's led me down the journey of the business savage and impacting other lives and really discovering what my true purpose is that God put me here to do.
Yeah, so beautiful. I didn't know you were 19. I don't think I knew that detail.
There you go.
I was 19 too, pregnant, and then had my son at 20, but same. Like, yeah, you're kind of told this story. At least I don't know about you, but I was told, go to college and check those boxes and maybe even get a job. And then if you want to be an entrepreneur, you can, but you've got to like earn all that first. And I just jumped into entrepreneurship pretty early and ended up leaving college. But you know, at that age, you definitely don't know what you're doing, but it's so fun. I mean, some of the best times I look back on, like, just the figure it out and the excitement of like, it's working, it's starting to work.
Or it's not.
And, yeah. I mean, or it's not, but you're like, when it does, you're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Let's talk a little bit. I know you recently sold that business, right? And so you had it for a while.
16 years.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about that business.
That process?
Yeah.
Of selling or just the process of discovering?
Back to, like, how did you know what business to start at 19?
Yeah, I didn't. I had actually nothing to do with the industry of beauty. I was the girl who wore too much makeup underneath my hockey helmet and I just enjoyed it. It was a creative expression for me and I loved it. And so it was, I don't even know how I fell upon it, to be honest with you. I probably saw something on Instagram and I knew I was really good with my own makeup. And I thought, okay, let's see. And I took a course with the Canadian Beauty College, became a licensed makeup artist. And so I started doing people's makeup and realized I was good at it and loved it. And, you know, fast forward, when you have business skills and business knowledge, I learned how to turn that into a business. And so that's how it started. I had a mobile kit and I was traveling around to people's homes or venues doing weddings, and that took off. And then I realized the specific skill within that I loved was brows. And so I was like, well, what's next? I can only make so much doing weddings. I'm turning down days when I'm getting a request because I'm already booked on a wedding. So this has a cap. And unless I train a whole bunch of other artists, which I also did, and there's pros and cons to doing that, it was really hard to scale. And so I said, I need a service that's more lucrative. And so I got into permanent makeup, $700 to $1,000 a head to do permanent makeup. And I was banging out 4 or 5 a day by the time it ended up taking off. I got really good, developed a signature technique. A lot of people were reaching out, how do I learn your technique? How do I do this? And so I realized, okay, I want to start teaching. And so I created a training academy. And then that took off and that started doing really well. $5,500 to take the course, and it was a 3-day course. So that's where a lot of it kind of took off. And as you elevate in any business, the next question we ask ourselves is, well, how do I scale this? Is this scalable? How do I scale this? How do I remove myself from all the little nitty gritty things that are bogging down my time so that I can now do the next thing? Like, where's the next version of Cassandra that's needed? And so that's what ended up really scaling it. But if I'm being really honest with you, before the COVID thing happened, it was a little bit of a blessing, I think, for a lot of us, because I had lost my passion. I had completely lost my passion for it. I wanted to have conversations of depth, and I was having women sit in my chair, whether it was makeup or eyebrows or any beauty service that we were doing. And I'm like, you know, tell me about what you want to see for today, or tell me what you would like in your eyebrows. And every single time it was just how they're ugly, how they're not this, take away my double chin, blah, 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 blah. The list went on. And I just so badly wanted to help them understand how beautiful that they were. And so I would start having these deeper conversations. And I had said to my assistant at the time, before COVID happened, I'm ready for something else. I thought about real estate for half a minute. But I was like, I'm so ready for something else. I'm feeling confined to these walls. I know I built them and I know I've built this, but I'm so ready for, like, out there in the world, what's next for me. And so it was almost, you know, a blessing that all of that happened. It was like 2 weeks, I think I sat at home partying, drinking way too much, smoking too much weed, sitting on the couch, sleeping every day during the beginning of COVID, depressed and like, what am I going to do? And then this light bulb went off. I'm like, first of all, this isn't changing right now. Like, this is going to be a long time. And second of all, this is a beautiful opportunity to step into my next gift and opportunity.
It's something new that you wanted. Yeah. I love the story of, starting the business. It's such an example of starting with a passion and something that you're good at, which was makeup, and then just being along for the journey. Yeah. And I feel like so much entrepreneurs, at least in the beginning, think they need to have it all figured out. And like, where exactly am I going and what's the plan to get there? And I'm telling you, like, every single time it doesn't work out that way. It's like, I started as a virtual assistant. Like, no way did I think I'd have an agency and then be running retreats and all these things. And like, that is literally the journey of entrepreneurship. It's so beautiful. And 10 years from now, I have no idea where I'll be. I don't need to know, right? Like, that unknown piece of it, that is literally the game. Yeah. And as you go, you build the experience, and the experience is what tells you, oh, I liked that. I didn't like that. I'm good at that. Oh, that didn't work out super well. That felt easy. That felt hard. And then you just create from that place.
Totally. And I think a lot of it too is listening to the audience, right? Like, listening to, if we were to start talking about branding, which I know is a really big piece of what you do, we will follow our passion, and we can talk about like Ikigai for a second. We follow our passion and what we're good at and what the world needs and where there's an opportunity to make money. But as we grow, your audience will really tell you by, if we pay attention to what they're asking us. What do people come to you all the time for? What are people asking you? Hey, could you help me with this? And if you start to really listen, that's what helped position me to keep niching down and narrowing down to where I am right now today, which, as you said, who knows where that'll be in 2 years from now, is me listening to the most common questions and problems that people were coming to me for. So if they're thinking that I'm an authority in that figure and they're looking up to me in this space, is that something I'm passionate about? Is there an opportunity for me to make money? Because I already know there's a demand and a need. And so that just kind of kept on feeding every new service, every new offer, every new program, every new retreat. You create an offer because you hear from your audience where there's a need. And you're like, huh. And that's one of the cool things about entrepreneurship is we get to go, I want to create that. I want to birth that. I want to bring that to life.
Right. It's that beautiful combination of what they need, what they think they want usually, and what they need, and then what your gifts, what you're naturally good at, what you like doing, what you're passionate about. It's like that blend of the two is absolutely where the magic happens, for sure. Yeah.
Which I think it's really important too to note, it's not necessarily just about what they're asking you, but you definitely have to be passionate about. One of my clients right now is pivoting. She's a successful coffee shop owner, and she's pivoting out of that into helping other people start coffee shops and brand them and market them and content and everything related to that. But when I ask her, like, what are you really excited about? She says that, but then I'm like, well, what's the offer that we're creating? And she's like, I want to help people with time management, like systems in their business, like just business owners in general. I'm like, why? You're passionate about this. You built a really successful business doing that. You want to help other coffee shop business owners. You like the content more than the time management stuff. Why are you? Well, I just figure that, there's maybe a better opportunity or this, that, and the other things. Like, no, we do really have to listen to your passion and your calling as well.
Yeah. And I think if you can catch that, because it's sometimes you can miss where you're telling yourself you have to do something because you saw somebody else do it or somebody said something, and like catch that moment where there's that resistance, right? And be like, okay, wait, let me pause and think about this more, because like that is also the reality of entrepreneurship, is like you make the rules. And so, yes, you want to obviously meet your audience where they're at with what they want and they need. That's very important. We're here to serve our customers at the end of the day in a business. But I think especially for beginning entrepreneurs, it can get so loud in your head with the noise of what you should be doing and like what works today, that they lose track of that permission to just be like, play. Okay, what comes easy for me? Like, what could I do all day long that doesn't feel like work? And really that passion. And I'll share a quick story because it's top of my mind. I just got back from Joe Dispenza. I know we talked on Instagram about it. And like middle of the week, my husband was there with me, and I said, he is obsessed with what he does. Like, he runs these events, and they're 14-hour days, and we go out, do a walking meditation on the beach. He doesn't have to be there. He's there walking among the 2,000 people. Like, he's obsessed with what he does. And I was like, look at Elon Musk, look at Alex Hormozi, look at anybody who's creating not just success for them, yes, but it's no longer about that. Like, they are in their life purpose, and they have found and followed what they love and are so passionate about and built a business around that. And that is so magnetic and so impactful when, you know, Joe Dispenza, I swear he probably spends majority of his day looking at scientific research of meditation and talking to scientists, and like he just loves it. It's not even a business to him. I think that is one of the most powerful places you can try to be in as a business owner.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Could not agree more. And I think a lot of people don't always find that, and they will put how can I make money in front of what lights me the hell up every single day. And it is a true blessing and a true gift when I totally hear you with all of those really successful people. I always hear them say that. And like we can pivot to talk a smidge about masculine and feminine, because some of those people that you just named, you know, they talk so much about hustle, but to them, it's not hustle. To them, it's okay if they're working 14, 15, 16-hour days because it doesn't feel like work, and they integrate it into their lives with their wives, with their kids, with everything that they do and the way that they live that works for them. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, we have some of these like super woo-woo people that are like, no, you need to rest. You shouldn't be working. You shouldn't be. Well, what if that is rest to them? What if that is where they thrive?
Yeah. Like that was so top of mind, because I think that we have been in a space right now where we've swung really far to the other side of I don't want to call it hustle because it's not hustle, but like that is the perception of it, is like you're lacking a balance and you need to do more of nothing. And I get it, but I think I've even reframed this for myself like in the last week looking at this, because exactly like what you're saying, for these people, who's to say that's not their life purpose, that they work 14-hour days? Because they are making such a massive impact on society that that's what they're here for. And they've built their life around it. And I think it comes down to the energy of the masculine and feminine. It's like, are you forcing yourself to work and white knuckling it and going about it in that energy of exhaustion and I have to do this to make money, and, you know, in that place of force, which is the masculine? Or are you in a place of this feels so fun and easy, there's ease to it and flow, then you're not out of balance. You know, if that looks like 14-hour days for you, maybe it's a season, maybe it's a year, and I'm sure it ebbs and flows for all of them and we don't see it, right? But there are no rules. And like I always come back to that. It's like, who's to say what is right and wrong there? What if there was no right and wrong? And we love to attach, because we're such linear thinking beings, myself included, to like, how much should I work? What's the right amount? Or it's why people love to know, like, what's your day like? And how much do you work? And how much do you spend time doing this? And the reality is we live in cycles and seasons. It's not linear. So this is very top of mind, because I think that I've at times made working too much wrong. Like, you know, I've just had this conversation with someone on the podcast of like, am I doing CrossFit too much? Like, is this coming from the right place? And kind of analyzing that. And it's like, okay, if the idea is to just be in the present moment, and how do you feel in the present moment? And are you grounded and present and here and, you know, feeling love and joy? Yeah. That's the goal.
Yeah. I think that there's just so much comparison that happens, and social media has helped us in so many ways and hindered us in others. And we take one scroll on social and it's like you see the complete end of masculine and then you see the complete other end of feminine. And so you're constantly like, I should be like that, but I should also be like that, but I have to listen to him, but I have to listen to her. And there's just so much noise. And just to your point, I think the most safe place is when you can come back to yourself and just ask yourself, am I okay? Like,
how does that make me feel?
Like, am I good? Right? Because, and I know you resonate with me on this, it's something that we've connected over, is traditionally we come from more of that masculine energy. And yes, I found my feminine and she's amazing and I love her and she's with me every step that I take. But also, like, I thrive a little bit more in chaos, and like which is a feminine energy, but I thrive a little bit more in the masculine. Like, there is a reason why that's probably my more dominant typical energy, and that works really, really well for me, and I love it. And so I just think it's that invitation for the person to just check in with themselves and ask themselves, where is the underlying reason of why I'm doing this and in pursuit of this, and does it feel true and in alignment for me?
Right. I mean, and that's a lot of your work now, just like me, is like bringing people back to themselves. Yeah. And really, it's like, you have the answer. Yeah. We're just conditioned so deeply to think we don't.
Right.
And to search outside of ourselves.
Yeah. The answer that I'll give so many of my coaching clients, you probably are similar, that they hate, they just despise is, I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How does that feel for you?
Yeah, like if you had to come up with the answer, what would it be?
Yeah.
And then they always have it.
Right. Right. Or they just ask wanting an answer. And so many of the questions you just asked, well, what does your day look like? Well, how many pieces of content should I post? Well, how long should the video be? Well, X, Y, Z, all these masculine questions. I'm like, I don't know, dude, do you want the video to be a minute? Does it feel good to talk for a minute and a half?
Right. What's the intention behind it? You know, what are we trying to accomplish? We lose ourselves in that. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too. You know, I think it's when you go into a new space of where there is the unknown, your brain is like, well, I need known. I need predictability. I need to be told how long, what to do, how many times, so I get it right. And I can create that predictability. Like, that's how we're wired. But there's so much magic in, okay, let's step back and remember why we're doing what we're doing.
Right. And also your version of success and what worked for you is different than mine. And what worked for me, of course, there's overlap. And of course, there's probably 10 things we could both write out and say, sure, you should potentially explore some of these options. But that doesn't mean it's like a recipe for success or a fancy formula that you can print and repeat and somebody else can just pick up the manual and it's like, oh, okay, this is the Bible for $1 billion brand. Like, that's not how it works.
Right. There's principles, but how you get there, it's like there's infinite possibilities.
It's such a gray area, which I love. But so many, this is why I was horrible at science. Because I was like, but what if we wanted to do it this way? Like, you can't do it that way. Like, this is how it works. This is the science. That's the formula. And I'm like, I don't really like formulas. What if I like take that piece out and I do it this way? What's going to happen?
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship, and is that you get to create the rules. And I think, not forgetting that is huge, because even outside of your business, it's like how you want to market, how you want to have your offers, how you want to structure your day, how much you want to work. Like, what if there was no right and wrong? What if it's just what you want is the right way? Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things too with that is just knowing what like freedom feels for you. What does that feel like for you? And that's such a big question that I don't think enough people stop and ask themselves in different seasons of their lives. Right now is a beautiful example for me, stepping into motherhood and being a wife, a chapter that I've never explored before. And traditionally being like multiple entrepreneur businesses going at the same time, I always have 10 plates spinning, or I don't feel like I'm in my power or purpose. It's just how I am. And now I have this whole new definition of what freedom looks like and feels like for me. And I've had comments after comments from women in my DMs since I announced my pregnancy. And they're like, oh my God, like, you are building an empire. Like, what are you going to do? You're just going to be a mom now? Like, you're just going to stay at home and like be a mom? And I'm just, I know you're laughing because 3 kids over here and this is when you've built your most success. It's just like, what happened to you? Like, what were you taught, shown, and told to believe to really think that that's true?
Right, there's so much fear.
Yeah.
Like, so much do people come from a place of fear or lack.
Yeah.
And I learned last week that in order to create in the 3D world, there has to be lack, because our brain goes, I don't have that thing, so now I'm going to go and get that thing. And that's how the brain is wired, right? Is like to create from lack, to create from fear. Scarcity. So when you connect beyond that, beyond into like truth, you don't have to create from lack. It's like anything is possible, which is I can have a reality where I am a mom, I am present, I am a wife, and I have an empire. And I've always known that, but I haven't been able to describe the how behind it. And because we can't see how that's possible. And a lot of times for people, what drives them to create is a lack. Like, I don't have that, so I have to go and create it. Right. That's how we see things in the
when my back's up
world.
Against the wall, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. That's so interesting. Yeah, that's so interesting. All I know is that I feel more in my power than I ever have in my life. I feel more aligned, like I'm building and creating for an entirely different purpose. And I'm so excited. I'm excited to have built what I've built so that I can pause if I want to. How long are you going to take off? I'm like, what if I answered you 2 hours? Would you freak out? Like, what if that was my truth? What if 2 hours after giving birth, I'll check my phone and make a sale and continue working? How long till I create a new offer or get back on a stage? I don't know. Maybe till I can walk and feel good. I don't know how long that's going to be. A week, a month? I don't know.
Right. And you shouldn't really need to know until you get there.
Right.
Right. And then it's like, okay, now I'm in the present with the baby and this is what feels good.
Yeah.
And I really empathize with people because I've been there. It's like, especially as you get into the more spiritual side and even feminine, I remember being like, well, like, okay, give me the manual, like give me the steps on how to accomplish that or the steps on how to feel that way. And it's not there. And that's because of you're operating from a place in the present moment. Like you don't know how you're going to feel after the birth right now. So what's the point in like spending a bunch of time and energy making a huge plan and then feeling like you have to stick to it?
Yeah. Even the birth plan in general. Right? Like literally even that process in general, everyone's like, well, what's your birth plan? And I'm like, baby's coming out healthy and I'm surviving. Yeah. That's the plan. Do I want it to be naturally in water? Yes, I do. But it's God's plan. And so wherever that path takes me to make sure he comes out healthy and I'm good is where we'll go. That's it.
It's so beautiful. It's like, that's true surrender. Here's the intention. And also I know that I don't know the best, right? Like,
I've never done this before.
Yeah. And it's God's plan, like you said, and really learning to sink into that and trust that is such a beautiful experience.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much surrender in it.
Yeah.
Recently, 2-second story that I think could be relevant for some people, because even an entrepreneur who's been in business for so long, we still have these thoughts and doubts and scarcity and fear. And so maybe about 6-7 months ago or so, to make a long story short, a very high ticket client of mine came to me starting a new business idea. Every reason to believe that it would be $1 billion business in a couple of years. All of the track records to prove that. And basically said, I want you to be on my leadership team, like an executive vice president of sponsorships and media. And I want you to run this beside me and have equity in the business and all of these things. So my brain goes to, what an incredible opportunity, you know, a leader that's 5 steps ahead of me and still a phenomenal way to kind of run my own thing under the leadership of somebody else. And so I stepped into it with an incredibly tauntingly high salary and equity payout. And so I started it, and I was 2 weeks in and I knew it was wrong, but I kept going and starting to let my own business slow down and not creating as much and not answering as much and pouring into the other. And a couple more weeks, kept on going and wanted to kind of see it out. And it was like a brick wall that just hit me one day, to make a long story short. And I bawled my eyes out, called my husband, called my father, the 2 people whose opinions matter the most to me. My dad's an entrepreneur and we have a baby on the way, and it was life-changing stability. And I said to my dad that the exact words of, but it's life-changing stability. And he said, but don't you bet on yourself? Like, you've always bet on yourself. Since you were 19 years old, you've made more money than that. You know, why are you now at a time when your son needs to see you step into that even more? Why are you now resorting to trying to fall under somebody else's leadership because it's secure and not as risky? And so I just said, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to build your business and your empire. And I believe in you so deeply, but I believe in myself even more. And so I had to walk away from that opportunity. And I remember the conversation. He's like, are you crazy? And are you sure? And I was like, I'm so sure. I've actually never been more sure.
Yeah, and you knew probably from the beginning, but it's like, it's hard. Sometimes, you know, we get in those, we let our brain get in and convince us like, this is better and I need this, out of a fear.
Yeah. Right. It was more stepping into motherhood. And I was like, well, I don't know what that will look like. And this will be so much security. And yeah, it was tempting. I tried it and it was so unaligned. I was forcing myself. It was something as simple as the middle of the day, I wanted to go work from a coffee shop and somebody put a meeting in my calendar. And I was just like, it was the signs again of when I went to go book time off and I couldn't because I didn't have enough days off back when I was in pro sport. It was that same feeling. I was like, oh, somebody else controls my schedule. Somebody else controls what I can and cannot do. I have to report to somebody. I have to tell somebody I'm taking a flight right now, that I'm offline. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
And you probably needed that experience for that reminder.
Yeah.
Like you had to go through the month or whatever it was of that, just to be reminded of like, oh wait, no, that isn't actually course correct. That's not what I want.
Which brings me back to definition of freedom. Like, of course there's a component of money that's always going to be in that. We need money to survive. But for me, it's time. It's how I live my life. The fact that it's a Tuesday afternoon and I can say yes to you and come be here and decide what I want to do with the rest of my day, there is no amount of money that you could pay me to take that away.
I totally agree. I'm the same.
Yeah.
And to be able to have a family in that space, of like the time with the kids and vacations and all of that, just pure freedom.
Yeah, I literally just got chills. Just thinking about that, like bringing my son into the world and knowing that I don't have to go back to some job or have somebody to report to. Like I'm going to be working on my book and I have the space to do that. And I've stepped into what I've built with my brand. Then I do a lot of speaking. And so that's like a big thing we hype up for. We prep for it. We fly out, we do a big gig, you get paid a lot of money, and then we get to like have content on the back end of that. But other than that, like I don't have to really do that much right now. I get to be in this season of podcasting and impact and building relationships and being a mom.
Yeah.
And present mom.
Space for that. And like whatever that brings for you. And like literally who knows in a year what you're going to be feeling and doing then. And that's like actually the beautiful part about it too.
Totally.
So let's talk a little bit about, I know we've like veered off all these lessons and I love it. Your last business in the 16 years, like, and getting to the point of selling it, just maybe anything that comes to mind that you want to share of like that experience and kind of how it molded you for the entrepreneur you are today, mistakes, lessons, and experience that stand out from that first business.
Yeah. Biggest lesson that I learned was to build a brand that doesn't revolve just around your face, whether it's a personal brand or not. And I know I'm in branding right now with the Business Savage. I ask myself every day, I'm like, ooh, I'm heading down a similar path. Like, does the Business Savage really run if you remove Cassandra's face? Not really. And so that business, CB, was in the name, literally my initials, and everything was built around the physical tool being in my hand. I was the one who was good at doing the craft. And so when I tried to train other people, it wasn't the same. And I had to come in and fix it and XYZ. And so I needed that lesson. I needed to go through that business. But I'm in this really interesting phase right now where I have an entirely new business idea. And it will not be around the face of Cassandra. It'll be something that's very scalable and something that I create with selling in mind from the very beginning. And so I think one of the things that's powerful is when you get into business is think about like, what is the exit strategy? Is there an exit strategy? What does it look like in 5 years, 10 years? Like, what are you building for? Are you building something that you're going to just run for 25 years and you just want to kind of create your own little space? A lot of people in the beauty industry are like that, right? They want to do that. So what does that look like for you? And then the second thing is to hire as fast as you possibly can the things that you don't want to do in order to actually scale. So many people are scared to invest in a team to scale their business. But I am a very firm believer with systems and teams, same thing, different but same. We can't really scale without those two things. You are one person. There are only so many hours in a day. And I don't care how much Alex Hormozy you have in your blood. There's only so much that you can do. And so two biggest things looking back from that was, how do I be a better leader? I wish I had better leadership skills from the beginning to teach people how to grow without me having to control and micromanage them. And then I wish I had a better thought plan to what that exit looked like, because I hung on way too long to that business, way too long. I should have let go of it before COVID, but I hung on until December. And so its value went down like crazy because I was building this business alongside that business with no passion over there and resenting it. And it wasn't worth anything near what it was before COVID. And so things to think about for anyone who's in that position is we do want to sell it when it's high, right? And have the next opportunity in mind. But also when you get into business, what is the 5-year plan? What is the 10-year plan? Like, what are you doing it for?
Right. And I mean, that's amazing that you took a business that you started, you know, where you didn't know where it was going. And so of course it was revolving around you at the beginning. It was kind of, it was that figured out. And then you must have successfully removed yourself to be able to sell it from that. How did you do that process? Like, how did you successfully remove yourself from the brand? Yeah,
I think the biggest thing was figuring out all of the pieces that it needed to run, and slowly, one by one, having somebody else take over that, whether it be a system or a person. And like, okay, I'm going to set this up so that this runs, and then I can step away. Okay, now what's the next thing? Like, what is the next piece of that? So for example, some physical things, like I had to train makeup artists because we had to say no to bookings because I was in the States for whatever I was doing, building other things or speaking or whatever. And so we're saying no to bookings. So now we're losing money. Okay, that's a problem. So I need to train artists. But when my artists are going, people aren't liking the service. They're requesting Cassandra. They'll pay more for Cassandra. Not even just the skill, but the service and the name and the brand and the reputation and all of these things. So I had to get really clear on if I had a formula for how I did bridal makeup, what is that formula? And how do I teach it to 17 other people so that they can go out and take bookings and I don't have to do it? That's a small example, you know, times is 100 and all the different avenues of the business. But like, start with the things that are really weighing you down, the little things that, even answering emails or all of the little things that you don't need to be doing, where your energy is actually better suited somewhere else. Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time, a great resource for people wanting to do this. And I had to ask myself, well, okay, what are the things right now that if Cassandra's not there, it turns off? It will not run. It will not work. And one at a time, I need to replace that as a machine with a framework, a system, or a person that can do that so I can remove. And then I just kept on doing that until every piece of the business ran without me. And then I had to emotionally let go, which was the last and longest step for me, was still hanging on to my baby that I built when I was 19.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that and just kind of emphasize what you're saying, because I'm fully removed from the delivery of my company and been through a similar process. Don't have plans right now to sell it, but took my name out of the brand. And you become where you need to sell the method and the process. And people are now not buying you, but they're buying the process. And then training a team on that, which it's simple, but it's not as easy as here's, you know, the 10 steps and here's a manual. It's like, how do you think? Like the little things when you're working with a client, and really like the values that you carry, the things that you just naturally do. And you're like, why doesn't everybody do it that way? You know, like that, those are the things that I've learned over the years that you have to train a team on, because I can give you the steps, but if you hire someone skilled, they're going to know the steps. And it really, a lot of times, especially client work, it comes down to the experience and those little things that you think of naturally. And that's how you built your business that most people don't. Otherwise they'd probably have a business, you know, that size. And so that's been my experience, is really getting clear on our values as a company and how that correlates to clients. Like one of ours is we treat our clients' money as if it was our own. And that's how I've always, you know, looked at clients. And to me, it's obvious, but I really enforce that with my team. And it's like, okay, was that decision one you would make if that was your own money? And it's just been something, you know, those values that you can just continually infuse. So I have found that the values of the company, and not having them be surface level, like we just say this to say it,
honesty,
value.
trust.
Yeah, exactly. But like truly that you can reference who you hire, who you fire, the decisions that you make, like in the day-to-day all the time. And sometimes it takes refinement. And then the process has got those like little nuances and those little things taught in it, and anyone can remove themselves.
Yep.
And I know entrepreneurs oftentimes are like, only I can do it this way. I've yet to see that actually be proven, like minus, you know, things like create this podcast, right? Someone couldn't come in here and be me, maybe with AI. Maybe we'll be there in a few
couple years.
Yeah. But I mean, there are very few things that only I can do, but very few. And that's the way you want it to be.
Totally. Yeah. I think that's the biggest secret to scaling, is to figure out all of those little things. And I promise you, the person who's listening to this who thinks, well, I am a control freak and I do everything the best myself, keep on thinking that and see how far you get. That was me. 100% that was me. I thought I was the only one who could do everything right, including answering the text messages or the emails or responding to client inquiries. No, I can train you. No, you won't pick up the call and know how to sell the student on the training course the way that I would, because I have the knowledge in my brain and you don't. But I can give you a script, and I can get really clear on how to handle this, and you're going to get better and you're going to get better. And eventually maybe you answer it even better than I do.
Exactly. And they will.
Right.
Like you will find people who can do it better.
Through the proper leadership too. And I know Dan Martell talks about this a lot, and so does Cody Sanchez. And they talk about when you're hiring, what to look for, and how in that first initial stage, you shouldn't be telling them what to do, but you actually want to see what they can bring to you. Hey, this is the goal. This is where we're trying to get. These are the systems, the tools, the resources that I can give you. Show me what you want to do. How do you want to solve this problem? What do you think I should do? What do you need from me to support you in doing that? And that'll show you so much more about the type of person and their problem solving skills and how they'll approach things, versus that person who sits there all day long and is like, okay, what's next? I crossed it off. What's next? I crossed it off. What do you need from me? What do you need from me? Because that's draining. And that is where the entrepreneur is like, oh, having a team is so exhausting. I spend all my time telling them what to do. I've made that mistake.
Same. Yeah. And thinking that that's how you had to hire. And it's like, no, I mean, now we hire based off of experience that they have, specific experience coming in, and values. Like I can't train someone on their values. I've learned that. You know, like I can't change someone in how they show up in terms of what they value as a human, but I can train other things. Mm-hmm. I can train skills or how we do things in the company. I mean, I think hiring help, especially in the beginning, it's like so overwhelming because you're like, well, I don't have time to train. You're in that place where it's like, I'm maxed out. I don't have time to train people and like explain these things. You think it's easier if you keep doing it because the time to train someone initially feels so overwhelming.
Right.
And I think a lot of times my advice is like, just do it a little messy.
Right.
You don't have to have this like perfect manual ready for someone when they come in. More than likely, your first hire, someone's going to come in and you're going to be like, please help me. Mm-hmm. Like, at least that was my experience. And do I wish I hired earlier? Yes. But, you know, sometimes it's just the beginning of a business when you don't know, you wait until it's like a 911, I need help. I have no more, you know, capacity. And you'll figure it out. You'll learn through the experience. You can't become a good leader without taking the steps to try to be a leader. You're not going to learn it in the books and the courses. Like, you're going to learn it through making the mistakes. And just like you said, made that mistake. It's like we had to learn that in order to become the good leader with the team that runs the company for us.
Mm-hmm. I think the only thing that could potentially help with some of that, no, there doesn't need to be a huge manual, but I do think that there should be some sort of system or process in place that you work by, and not even just to consider the hire, but for yourself. Like, I could give a super small example of a launch. If we're going to launch a course, well, there's steps. There's a certain number of emails. There's a certain way we do that. There's templates for things. If I'm reinventing that wheel with every single launch, that's exhausting. No wonder you feel drained. But if I, for the first time I do it, create a system and templates, and this is how many emails and the type of emails and what we say in the emails and how we structure them and all of these things, well, then when I launch again, I just refer back to my templates, my systems, my manual, even if it's not complete or messy. And so when somebody comes on board, you say, okay, step one, you're going to help with this launch. Here's the Google Drive. Here's the resources. Here's the systems of how we do that. Go explore that for a week. There's some trainings in there. I've done some Loom videos for you. Go watch that. And then come back to me in a week and you tell me what you think that we should be doing and what we can improve on. But at least there's something there that doesn't require me to be like, okay, launching from scratch. Here we go.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, even if you're in that place where you're so overwhelmed, your first hire, if they have this skill set, can help you make the manual too. Like if you
100%.
just get on Zoom and you're like, this is what I do, and one of your first jobs is to turn this into a process that I can look at. You know, you can do that. And I think, like you're saying, the faster you hire and get that support, and I think the faster you value your time and energy as a CEO. That's the thing I see with beginning entrepreneurs is they get stuck for a very long time in the bootstrap, make it happen through just killing myself, basically. And they don't actually see the value of their time and energy. And if they put that into higher level activities, the impact that would have on growing their business. So therefore, they stay in this place of doing everything.
Mm-hmm. It's the entrepreneur mindset versus the CEO mindset. And CEO, by the way, doesn't have to mean like of some massive Fortune 500 company, right? You're a CEO, I'm a CEO. It can be what it is, but to me, it's a mindset of how we think. I never used to think like a CEO. Or in my last salon, I don't know how I did what I did because I was very much entrepreneur mindset. It was like daily thinking rather than bigger thinking and how do I remove myself. And so it's definitely a switch in mindset and a switch in the way that we approach business and thinking, well, what is next?
Yeah, and valuing your time and energy and protecting that like fiercely. I know for me, I'm sure for you, I mean, I'm relentless with my time and energy, and I say no to a lot. And I mean, I just had someone who they were supposed to get a 30-minute call with me as a bonus. They asked for an hour and they'll sign up, and I was like, I'll do 45 minutes, like literally that 15 minutes. I was like,
it's my boundary.
You know, that's like our time and our energy is our one limited resource.
Right.
And so where you spend it in your day will dictate your growth and how far you can take your company. And we're like, you shouldn't be responding to your company and your environment. Like, you get to be in the driver's seat, you know, and that's also why, you know, each morning how you start your day, and are you in like a reactive place and just reacting to the email and the Slack and all the messages, or are you like, no, this is how today's gonna go. Like, I am in charge here.
And creating the reality around that. It's a totally different way of thinking, a completely different way. going into your day, even knowing like, what is the one main thing I'm going to create today or get out of it? And what does everything else around that have to support and look like in order for that to be true? So a question I ask myself all the time is, what has to be true in order for that to happen? If I want to make $1 million this month, okay, forward thinking, backward planning, what has to be true? Well, if Cassandra is responding to 75 emails every day, it's probably not going to be true.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a great question. I love that. Just to like evaluate and give yourself perspective on where you're spending your time.
Yeah. And then that typical audit's like a great place for people to start, because oftentimes that can look different for every single person. Like, what's my first hire? Or where do I start? Like, where do I scale? And I think if you are so clear on where you're spending your time, and I have this rule of like, I've done it 3 times, delegate. Like, if I have had to do something more than 3 times, like, it's enough of me doing that. There's certain things that we have to do in our businesses that truly do revolve around your thoughts and the way that you think, my thoughts and the way that I think. No one else can get up on a stage and give a keynote. No one else can be sitting in this chair right now having this conversation with you as part of my team. But there's a lot happening right now for both of us that's still growing and moving the needle while we're sitting here doing this.
I mean, the whole company is running, right? Like, while we sit here, which is how it should be. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, back to your story on your company. What held you on for so long? You said, I should have sold it before COVID, and I didn't, and like emotionally letting it go. Yeah. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. That was ego, for sure. There was a lot of ego involved. There was a identity that I was holding myself to, that I thought my identity was the beauty girl. And so many people knew me as that and reached out to me as that. It's probably still a little bit of fear of what happens financially when that is completely gone. There's probably still a little bit of fear in there. A little bit of, is it failing? Am I giving up on these people? Am I giving up on my clients? Am I giving up on my team? Am I turning my back on them? And I got some of those comments. I got some of those comments from clients. I got some of those comments from staff. I got some of those comments from my own family. Like, what? But you built that for 16 years. Why would you turn your back on it? And so it took me a long time of processing all of those thoughts and allowing those things to sit with me to realize, I know you understand and appreciate this, I'm a very firm believer that God puts us on this planet for a purpose. For you are here to do something, to create something, to be something, to shift something. Everyone has a purpose. And I think that our lives will take us in these beautiful paths and these beautiful journeys to figure out what that is. I don't think any baby wakes up and goes, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. This is why God put me here. And I know that that was part of my path. And so there was a little bit of fear of like fully cutting the cord of like that initial season of my identity and actually letting go fully to step into what God put me here to create. And so if I really kind of get down to the depths of it, there was still fear of stepping into this new version of myself fully and fully letting go of that identity in that chapter. And am I ready for that?
Yeah, makes total sense. I mean, you question yourself and it's like, what's the right decision? And we want that. Our brains, of course, want that kind of guarantee that that's the right move. Did you have like a moment where you knew, or did just an opportunity kind of arise to sell it?
No, I don't know if there was one moment.
Right.
Like I said, since before COVID, I can remember saying to my assistant, this needs to go, like something else needs to shift. I remember the first time I stepped foot in Austin, it was this whole new energy. I was like, oh my gosh, something is here for me. So it was just micro moments over the last 5 years. And I started this business alongside that. And it was just micro moments of going to do a wedding and I'm like, this doesn't feel the same. Or answering a client email, I'm like, I don't want to be doing this. Whatever it was. And it just kept on building. I knew the whole time. I just was hanging on.
You were just in the process.
Yeah.
Of letting it go.
Yeah. I was grieving it while it was happening. And I would go in and I would cry because I didn't want to be there. But then I'd cry when I left because I was so proud of myself for what I had built, but also like embarrassed and ashamed because I was like, how can you turn your back on this? What are you doing? And then I'd go back and I'd have an amazing week and great conversations and things would go so well. And I'm like, you can do this. You can do both. And I would convince myself, and it was this whole process. And I'm like, it's not even the time. And just someone calling you to say that there's a flood or whatever, it's not even that. It was the energy that it took up in my brain that was stopping me from fully stepping into what I'm doing. And you know what happened? The second I made the decision and finally did what I did, I got pregnant.
Wow. Of course. You needed to create the space for that next chapter.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first time I met you was when we went to the Cody Sanchez event and you asked the question. You got to ask a question to Cody and you were wrestling with, do I sell the business? You know, it's successful, but, you know, I'm not really happy in it and you ask that question, and so like that was maybe a year ago, maybe not, you were still really wrestling with it.
Yeah. And it started way before that. And at that point, it had already started to do this in its worth and in its value, because I wasn't there and all of these types of things. And then I had to kind of like save it to get it back to a place where I'm like, okay, either I just close the doors or I figure out how I want to do this strategically, because that's where it was. I knew I didn't want to do it anymore. Yeah. But I didn't know how to let go.
Timing. That makes sense. I mean, I could see how it's like telling yourself, well, I want to get it back to like its highest point before I sell it.
And I had to realize that wasn't going to happen.
And
the highest point was the highest point, and everything now was going to be down from that highest point, because I wasn't ready to go back and do what I was doing when it was at its highest point. I was excited about what I was building here and what had been already birthed and created here.
Yeah.
There was no part of me that was going to go back and put in the work that it needed to get to where it was.
Yeah.
And
I bet if you go back to like around COVID, if someone told you like, hey, the right thing is to sell this business right now, you probably still wouldn't have done it.
Probably not.
You needed to go through the whole process.
Probably
like,
not. And the valuation of it then, woo, yeah, totally different. But I probably wouldn't have.
You probably wouldn't have. You needed to go through that journey. And like, who even knows also what that journey is going to lead to next? Like maybe there's pieces of the last 4 years that you needed for what's next.
Yeah.
In the current company.
Yeah. I mean, every piece of it taught me so much.
Of course.
Right? As it always does.
Yeah, about yourself too. I mean, in your leadership and your decision making and trusting yourself, it's like we need those journeys. And I feel like a lot of people talk about the end, like I sold my business, right? And that's the thing that gets focused on as the main piece. But like that messy in between and that journey and that process is actually where a lot of the gold is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, depending on what it is. I mean, yes, but depending on what it is. And now, like I said, this next idea that I have, you think like this very much so, but I think a lot of entrepreneurs when they're starting, they don't. It's so different than the way I built my first few businesses. And it's even different than the way I built this one. It's much more along the idea of creating it right from the beginning with the idea of being sold and me not being the face of it. And like, I'm a piece of it, I'm a leader in it, but I'm going to hire all the right people right away to be in their roles from the beginning, because now I can afford to do that. And it's going to solve a very large problem that doesn't need me in any of it. I'm going to create something that can work without me needing to be on a physical coaching call, on a physical stage, physically doing somebody's service. It runs without me.
And it's like all your experience up until now.
Yeah.
It gave you the ability to come up with this idea and execute that.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch that unfold.
Yeah. It'll be a long process for sure. It's just in the early stages.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about it because I think I felt like I was still stuck in still thinking small. And everyone has a different version of that. Some people look up at me and they're like, you're the biggest thinker I know. And I'm like, well, it depends on what room you're in.
100% agree. And when I went to Cody Sanchez's book launch, and that was one of the things I said when I left, is like, man, I need to make sure I get into the room with people who are way ahead of me, which gets harder as you grow. You oftentimes find yourself as, again, people are like, you made it. And it's like, yeah, but if I put myself in a room with Cody,
right,
like, no, I'm not thinking big enough and thinking about investing and having portfolios, and like that's the next iteration of growth. I've taken my current business to this place, and I agree. You have to really push yourself though, because it's also easy to get comfortable when you have everything that you wanted.
Right.
And then you're also get into, okay, why am I doing this? What's the bigger impact? Like you get to that. I don't know if you've had this experience, but like once I built my business to 7 figures, it was like, all right, well, I have way more than I ever could have imagined, like the travel, the house, whatever. So how do I still push my comfort level and not just stay comfortable in this great place and challenge myself? Because the beginning phases, like you're constantly being challenged. You're like, oh my gosh, $5,000, like it's like the next level. And so I think putting yourself in rooms with people who are thinking way bigger than you. And I bet Cody would feel like that if she's in a room with Elon,
right?
Like, and her billionaire investor friends. Like there's always people who have achieved, I don't want to even make it about achievements and money. It's not about that. It's not like, let me put myself in a room with people who make more money than me.
Bigger
it's
thinking.
Impact.
Yeah,
and
it's bigger thinking
and pushing the edge of what you believe today is possible. And that's the thing, is like, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And so if we don't put ourselves in situations where we can get a different perspective and challenge that, and then you find those moments where you're like, ooh, I really like that. Like I looked at, Joe Dispenza last week, and I'm like, an event with 2,000 people, they're all paying $2,500 a ticket, like $5 million event. Like imagine the impact. And just being at that event, not even for the purpose of business growth, gave me a perspective of what could be possible if I wanted it to be with events. So I think, it's super important. And as you grow, what's the impact? Like, what's the bigger thing that you're here for way beyond money? And in the beginning, it's hard to look at that because you need to make money. It's a need. You've got to be able to pay the bills, cover the expenses, and have enough in the bank. And then it's like, okay, now what are we doing it for? What's the impact that you're here to have? And then money becomes a byproduct.
Yeah. I could not double click or echo on that more. Like, I honestly feel if there's one main thing for people to take away from this episode over all of the things we've talked about, it's simply that. And I understand that not everyone has $2,500 to drop on a Joe Dispenza retreat the way that you and I have access to. And so I understand that. But I also think that they use it as an excuse to not do it in other ways. Start listening to the podcast. Don't listen to the podcast of the person who hasn't done that yet because she's cute and it's fun and she talks about gossip and random boy crap and whatever the hell else. I don't get it. And it comes back to how do you live your life and where do you give your time? Okay, you want to think like Alex Hormozi, you want to think like Cody Sanchez, you want to think like Joe Dispenza, and all of these people that you're like, oh my gosh, imagine. The only difference between them and you is they went from dreaming to deciding. That's it.
And they became the person that they needed to be to make that a reality.
Right. And so maybe you don't have the money to go to their retreat yet. Maybe you don't have the money to join their coaching program yet. Maybe, but they probably have a book. And they probably have a podcast, and they probably bid on a lot of podcasts. And you can probably be very strategic about what you allow into your brain and what you don't. And that's why friendships like this and conversations like this, I value so much, because it'll challenge you to the next level and keep you and remind you of some things when you're slipping. And this is not meant to sound egotistical or mean or rude. I don't have conversations like this with people that aren't at my level. I won't ask someone for advice who hasn't done what I'm trying to do or in and around that space. Like, I'm not going to ask my mom how to build a business. I'll ask her how to bake an apple pie. Love her to death and she's awesome at that. Don't eat my apple pie, eat my mom's. But don't ask people for advice who haven't done the things that you're trying to do. And if you want to be inspired, stretch yourself. Like, truly stretch yourself to your capacity. So many people, oh, I wish I could afford your program. I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. The only difference between me and you is that I went from dreaming to deciding of how I was going to make that my reality. I had a really cool opportunity of being in Cody's YouTube video. A couple of weeks ago, she had this really cool thing she did on the streets. Yeah. And it was an awesome opportunity. So we're sitting at lunch and I'm sitting beside her and she's like, so tell me about your business. Tell me about what you do. And I'm telling her, she's like, that's really cool. She's like, that's dope. I love that. So what's next? Like, that's cool. But also I could care less. Like, that doesn't impress me right at her level. It's like, what's next? And I'm like, well, and she's like, cool. So yeah. So what's actually next? How are you selling it? How are you exiting it? What happens if you can't show up on the camera? Blah, 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 blah. And I literally looked at her and I was like, I don't know. And she's like, you should probably figure that out.
I love it.
Yeah.
Is that how the idea came after that? Or
yeah.
No? Oh, so that's where this new idea came from, was after that lunch with her.
Yeah,
wow.
Because I went home and I told my husband, I'm like, I'm still thinking small. He's like, but you've done this and you've done this and you've got this happening and this happening. And I was like, yes, but what do those all have in common? I need to be there to have them all done. I have all these opportunities of speaking. I love it. It is my future in some degree. And I could go on with all of these different things. I don't want to create another program. I don't want to create another offer. I don't want to create another funnel. I don't want to create any of these other things that need whatever it is for me to be a piece of. I want an entirely different business model that if I wanted to just pop out 10 babies and get to do only what I love, if I woke up every single day and I only did exactly what I love, what would that be? And so I really sat and started thinking about it. And I'm like, I want to build a business in an entirely new way than what I've ever done before. And I have no fucking idea how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it because that's my next step. That's my next level.
I love this. I want to dig into this because I feel like one of the key things here for you and that question of what's next and how you arrived at whatever is next is you sat with what do I want to create? Yeah. What's important to me? Like, you came back to yourself. And I want to point that out because I think that people will skip that step and they'll go, what's next? And then they'll fill in what they think because they saw somebody else do it or it's for the money or something. And that's the mistake that you make because it's not about the chasing what's next. That's not what we're saying here of just keep chasing the next thing and chasing the next thing and chasing the next thing. No, it's about saying, let me think so big on a dream that the yesterday me would have looked at me and said, that's fucking crazy. Like, there's no way that could happen. And the today you is going to go, but what if?
Right.
And I think that is important because there is also entrepreneurs who are running from something and will constantly chase what's next and never be fulfilled. So 2 things. First, you got to find full fulfillment in the present moment. And at the same time, you can dream and bring the impossible to reality, but you have to know where the intention is coming from. And you paused versus saying, let me look at what Cody's building and like maybe I'll, buy some boring businesses and do what she said to do because she's making a lot of money. Like, that's the difference that I think is just like so important to point out, because we're not saying just chase for the sake of chasing. We're saying think big, because again, we don't know what we don't know. Yeah. You only know what you have created as of today. And challenge that. Those moments that you go, like if you would have asked me, if I really thought about it, an event of 2,000 people, I'd be like, oh, that'd be cool one day, but probably not. I could do that, right? Or have the level of impact that Joe Dispenza has or Cody Sanchez has. And it's like, well, why can't I do that? There's room for me. And that's what we're saying. So I just think it's important to make sure people don't just chase because they're never fulfilled. They're never happy. Like, I also bet if you lost everything today but had your husband and your new baby coming and who you are today, you'd be fine.
100%.
And me too. Like, I could lose it all. Like, yeah, it would suck a little bit. I'm sure I'd be bummed about the luxuries I have, but my kids, my husband, who I am today, and feeling so good about how I show up in the world, I'd be fine.
You also have the skill set that you could do it all over again. And the knowledge now and experience to do it in an entirely different and faster way. Right. So I've had that conversation before. Like, what happens if I take this risk and like we lose it all? Like, what's going to happen? He's like, then we build again. He's a business person too. Right. So that's a beautiful thing, is I get to have those conversations with somebody who challenges me. But yeah, I mean, this creation, and I will share when I'm ready, like it's a brand new, just like full alignment of yes. It came from the idea of that version of me and what needs to be true to make that possible exists within me, but she doesn't exist yet. Like, there is so much I don't know how to do that. And so that's a true edge. Like, that is a true edge. But it's also coming from a place of, I don't want to keep building on the way that I've been building with now this new chapter of my life. And so when I talk to women who say, you're going to slow down because of being a mom now, I will argue you, in my personal experience that's been true so far for me, is that it's created an entirely new way of thinking for me. I want to be a present mom, and I want to show him what's possible, and I want to be him, and I want him to travel the world with me while I'm doing all of this. So go ahead, tell me I'll never take a trip ever again. He's coming with me. Like, I don't care what your limitations and your beliefs are. They're not mine. But how I'm going to build this business is also because I want it to set him up. I want him to learn how to do this in a way that's not hard and every day and on a hamster wheel and grinding or the same thing over and over again or needing to sell more or whatever it is. And it's more impact. I can make so much more impact if I approach things from a way that I've never done it before. And so it requires a version of me that I am not yet, that I need to step into in so many different ways. And that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, business and life is the biggest personal development journey we can go on. That's like my favorite part about it is you have to become a different person to have that future reality. And like, when I hear people like, well, I don't have this business yet, I don't have this level of money yet or whatever, it's like, well, you're not the person yet who can have that. Like, would they be, like you said, consuming gossip and trash? Would they be spending time, scrolling an hour on social media in the morning? Like, really, like, we're not victims.
Yeah.
Like, we are in control we are the full creator of our reality. And so when people are like, it didn't work out for me like it did you, or those things, it's like, I'm sorry you feel that way. And that's literally the thing stopping you from having this success.
Because you believe that. Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing wrong with you, is that you believe that.
Yeah. The first indicator, and often we know this before, like the first indicator is like, well, why? Like when someone's like, well, why did you do that? Or, well, what do you mean? Like any of that, I'm like, I am exiting this conversation right now. I'm sorry. I'm just leaving. Two things I always say around this that people will argue is like, well, why don't you have a television? Like sports are on, or this is on, or this is on. Why are you not watching TV? I don't have a TV because I choose to spend my time in other ways. And I'm not judging you if you do, and maybe there's things you want to watch, and I'll put on a Netflix movie every now and then when my husband and I want to relax, but I choose to spend my time in different ways. That's just not how my brain works. And so with social media, I say this and people argue me all the time. Why are you following all of these people that you're following? Like, ask yourself that every time they pop up for me. I'm in a season right now of like unfollowing. And it's like, oh, because she was a client. Okay. Well, first of all, she's not even a client anymore. That's done. You don't need to follow her just so you can root her on. Like, she's not inspiring to you. She's not doing what you want to do. And watching what you're watching right now is not fueling me. So why am I following you still? I love you. I think you're awesome. I don't need this to get to my next level. You don't need to follow your mom. Like, you don't need to follow your ex-best friend from high school. You don't need to be following all of these people. It's not that you don't love them. If it's a business account and you're trying to grow and I'm trying to use that, if I do scroll for an hour in the morning, I want it to be inspirational. I want it to be educational. I want it to light me up. I want it to show me what's possible. I don't want it to be like sad or whatever. All of the stupid little shit that you're like, oh, it was funny. I'm going to send it to 16 people. Like, cool. And I'm a mom right now. We're going to be. So like, I am interested in a lot of different stuff. And I'm kind of getting caught in that because I'm like, oh, do I need that stroller? Do I need that stroller? Yeah. So there's that going on. But for the most part, like, that's a perfect place, a perfect opportunity. I can look at someone's social media and I can say to them, well, show me who you're following. I can tell you why your brain is filled with the thoughts and the beliefs that it's filled with.
Yeah, people do not realize, I mean, the noise we take in.
Just from social. Yeah, from social alone.
And I play with all the time, like, going off of it completely. And, like, I've actually recently had that conversation of, like, if I look at my future self 5 years from now, would she even be on social media? And I don't know the answer to that. Like, I think there's an answer to that of no, like, completely not.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that you don't realize. I did that too. I was like last year following like 700 people. I think I went down to like 200. Like, I just unfollowed anybody that I didn't really know.
I met you once at an event.
Right.
And you were like, oh, follow me. And I felt bad. So I followed you back.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, I'm like, who is this?
Yeah. And it's just so much noise. I mean, that's noise. Like, your brain can only take in so much. So why let it take that in? And, you know, I think I want to point this out too of like, you don't have to always be like productive and consuming like business, you know, trainings and whatnot. I think it comes down to intention. And when you consume, are you completely checked out and unconscious and just like in that doom scroll? Or is whatever you're consuming intentional? If it's a Netflix movie that is, you know, trash TV or whatever, who cares? But is it intentional?
Right.
Like, are you being present to what you're doing? And I think that takes a lot of energy. It's easier to go subconscious and to just let your environment kind of be what dictates how your day goes. I think that's majority of how people live is like they wake up and they check their phones and like all of a sudden you're reacting to the text messages. Oh, that message that someone sent me made me feel this way. That email from the client made me mad. Now I'm thinking about it 2 hours later while I'm with my kids. Like that's the piece that it takes every single day. And I'm not perfect at it. Like, heck no, do I find myself in situations where I'm like, man, like walked past my phone in the morning, picked it up and started scrolling and wish I didn't do that. Okay, we'll do better next time.
Right. Catch yourself in it. It's awareness too.
I think that awareness and that intention that's it. It's like you now become the creator of your day and of where your time and energy is going. And now you get to choose the thoughts, the beliefs, and what, you know, is coming in. There's no right and wrong. Like, I'm sure there's some really smart people who watch whatever those, I don't watch the reality shows, but like, I know a lot of friends who watch like, I don't know, Love is Blind or whatever. Is it intentional, right? Like, I'm doing this for the purpose of entertainment and I'm being intentional. Okay. Most of the time, I think probably 95% plus of people reacting to the environment around them versus being present.
It's the reason why they call it the 1%. There's a reason. I laugh when I put up a story poll. If you put it in the bottom right hand corner of your story, like sometimes if I'm not thinking or depending on the photo, like that's just where it looks best. And it'll always get so many more votes because the people that are like looking through stories, right?
Wow.
And I think to myself, because it's true, try it. It's true. And I laugh because I'm like, dang, there are so many people on autopilot just going through their stories like this. And the bottom right-hand part of their phone is where they click. And so they're accidentally voting on polls all the time. And sometimes our team will message them like, hey, thanks for voting on the poll. Did you want information about blah, blah, blah? They're like, sorry, I clicked by accident. I'm like, I know you did.
Yeah.
Because you're not even a business owner. Like, I know you did.
Right.
Or whatever it is.
Wow.
But dang, the number of people that are on that, like, autopilot.
And just like the attention, like more, I need more. Dopamine, dopamine.
I don't even know what I voted on. I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I am going to try that. That's so funny. But yeah, I mean, and I have to be so intentional with social media. I don't know about you, but I mean, because it's literally like our phones are created to be that addiction machine and dopamine machine. And it's something I think about a lot. Like, would that future person even have any social media, be putting my kids on social media at all? I don't know.
Yeah. And the season that I'm coming into, again, it's a big thought of mine right now. I'm more intentional than I ever have been with my phone. And my partner is building an empire, and he's on the verge of a massive breakthrough. And so it's glued to his hand 24/7 from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to bed, to the point where a couple of very large fights of driving and he's on his phone. And I'm like, hey, just pull over. I'll drive. You can work if you need to. Church now, pulling it out, like places that he never used to before, and he hates it, but he's so addicted to what he's doing and what he's building. And we've had to have some conversations like, there is a very hard stop for me. I don't care what's going on in your world and what's going on in your business and who you need to get back to because they're doing this. I don't give a shit. When I'm in the vehicle with you and this child, whether it's in my belly or it's in the back, that is a hard rule for me. That phone is down. And so he's very respectful of that. But yeah, like, it can suck you up. And he's not scrolling social media. He's not even on it. He's building.
He's working.
He's building.
Yeah. And he's in that season, which again, there's no right or wrong. It's just, is it intentional?
Yeah.
Is it what your best self wants?
Yeah. Or even still, sometimes I'll ask him a question and 5 minutes later, what? And I'm like, oh, wow, baby.
Yeah.
Like, you are in it.
Yeah.
You are in it right now.
So as we get to kind of now, without obviously sharing about the new company, what are you super passionate about right now? And I know you have Business Savage and you run events. I've gotten to be on a panel at your events. We run similar retreats, you and I both, of that more embodied, of like doing somatic and business workshops kind of mixed in.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are you passionate about? Where do you see your impact going, as much as you want to share with the new venture?
Yeah. It's all related to voice for me. Everything's related to voice. I'm very, very passionate about helping people discover the power of their voice. And that's not just physically the sound of your voice. Yes, there's communication components in there. I believe so deeply that every single person on this planet has a message to share, and most people won't share it. And so whether it is the words that you're saying, whether it's the physical sound of your voice, whether it's speaking your truth, whatever that is, I want to help inspire more people to stop suppressing what they truly want to say and how they want to be seen in the world. And so that's like a glimpse of what I'm creating, is how can I do that on a very massive scale. I get in front of a stage. I'm obsessed with speaking right now. It's lighting me up. And so I get on a stage and I get to look at all these eyeballs, and I get to see that happening over and over and over again. And I'll go deep into a story and I'll see tears and see things happening. And I'm like, this times 5,000 is what I want to be able to create.
That's impact.
That's impact. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm creating on a phone or on a podcast, I can't see the reaction happening on the other side. And on social media, I don't know who's looking at something but not liking or commenting. So I don't know the true impact or reach of it all. And it's not about me at all and being like, oh, I helped another person. It's just truly about elevating the consciousness and helping more people. And so whether that's a woman who's in a bad relationship and doesn't know how to speak her truth and get out of it, or a person who wants to build a massive empire and wants to figure out their branding and their messaging to do that, I want to help more people move the masses with their voice.
I love that. And you're already so amazing at that. I mean, that's where the content creation that you support people with, your events,
Thank you.
That's come from. I'm excited. I'm so excited to watch this next season unfold for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just help me name my child.
It'll come to you. You don't even need the name before they're born. Like, when you see him, you'll be like, it's this. Our last one, we didn't know if he was a boy or a girl. I didn't find out on the third. And so we had names, but it took us like over a day for him. I was just like, I don't know, but it will come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about it. We've got a couple that are locked up, but yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
they're named for the rest of their life. You both want to love it, and you got to think about nicknames and bullying and all the crap.
Right.
So.
He will get the perfect name that is already picked out for him. You just haven't had it drop in yet, or maybe you have. Yeah,
I think I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has come up for you so far in pregnancy, business. Like, I know for me, when I was pregnant, it was like I got so many ideas, and it pushed my thinking, because you realize like my whole life's going to change after the baby comes, right? And so like you're saying, it's each one of mine has represented like different big milestones for me, each one of my kids, because I realized that once they were born, the reality would change so much that I had to adjust that before they were born. And it was like such a fire, such an inspiration while I was pregnant to get to that place that I wanted to be before they were born.
Yeah. I'm not going to answer this with business, because I think I kind of have in some ways. And I get emotional, like even thinking about it, because first of all, there's so many women who want to have this ability to have a child, to carry a child, and they can't. And so there's like this overwhelming sense of gratitude from God that I'm able to do this, and that I have the honor of doing this. I'm getting emotional because I have been struggling with body image issues this whole time, and fitness and sports has been such a big part of my life, and I'm physically not able to do things the way that I used to for this season right now. And looking at your body and looking at the scale and trying on 75% of my wardrobe, and I think things are going to fit, and I go to do a photo shoot and I can't get it over my hips, and this whole spiral of my eating disorder background and things come up for me. It's like, it's been challenging, but also the beautiful duality of also like I'm creating life. And so it's a very different feeling of gratitude. And I think the biggest thing I'm excited for is I have become so aware in the last 6-7 months of things that I don't want to pass on to him. Things that I say to myself, whether it even be about my body, and my partner's like, Cass, you're beautiful. And it's like, dang, I don't want to hear my son hear me say that to myself. Because he will then think it's okay to talk to women that way, or that women think that way, or whatever it is. And so it's this season of me identifying almost daily. I have an anger problem. I'll still sometimes go from 0 to 100 really fast. And my partner's the most patient man in the world, and he will never yell at me. And he'll say, Cass, just lower your voice. Just lower your voice. You don't want to have our son hear you yell, right? That's not how we handle conflict. And so I'm excited to be in a season where I'm so aware of the things that I saw growing up that I don't want to pass along to him. And this is my time and my season to become aware of that, and to change that, and to make the conscious decision to not pass that on to him.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, thanks for sharing about the body image. And I know it's like, in those moments and the different things that come up when you're pregnant, it's easy for people to say, well, but you're beautiful and you'll go back to normal, it's like, but I still feel that way. I still have to process those things and kind of go through that myself. But
also, like, to any woman who has thought that or think that or anything, like, give yourself space to feel that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, instead of being like, don't feel that, because I'm creating life, and all the reasons why you shouldn't feel that. It's like, but I do feel that way.
Right. And my partner, again, he's marry your best friend, marry someone who thinks the way that you think, because he's so freaking phenomenal with me. Like, he'll sit me down and he'll say, okay, tell me everything you're thinking right now. Tell me everything that you're feeling right now. I want to hear it all. Go ahead, rifle it off. And I'll tell him all, and I'm crying and all these things. And he goes, he doesn't even need to say the other side, because I came to that realization myself. I just needed to feel it. And then he'll just look at me. He said, I love you. I said, thank you. I love you too.
Yeah,
like,
because acceptance is the first step. Yeah. Like, we can't run from that.
Right.
And so through that process, you're also probably doing a long-term healing of, body image and thoughts that have probably always been there. They're just being heightened through being pregnant. And now you get to have the awareness and then go, okay, let me choose the new beliefs and choose the new thoughts that I want to have.
Yeah. And let me even throw this in here. It means it from the best of places, but this gives you a small taste of kind of things that I heard and experienced growing up, especially related to my body, but also in sports and just how I grew up with my father. Amazing man. He means no harm in any of this. He's simply not aware. He said to me the other day, I posted a picture, and I want women to know what I'm going through. So I'm talking about it because I know a lot of women look up to me in this light. And so I want to be vulnerable about, hey, I'm not perfect and I'm not feeling perfect. And this is what's actually going on in my brain. And so I posted my weight. I'm normally about 135, 140. I'm 5'9", and I'm almost hit 190 now. And so I talked about it. My dad responded to the story, and he said, if you keep going at this rate, the scale is going to say, 1 at a time, please. Like making a joke. Thinks it's funny. Ha ha, let's lighten the mood. And then he follows it up with, you're going to catch me soon. Because he's like 205, something like that. So he doesn't mean harm, but it's
just like a dad, like,
right,
come on, man.
right. And then follows it up with, have you talked to your doctor about how much weight you've gained? The normal weight gain is this. And so I screenshotted it and I looked at it and I was like, wow, I'm at such a different place now where I can look at this so differently and also can say to you, hey, I know you didn't mean any harm by this, but this is how that made me feel. And this is how I'm receiving that. This is also something I'm going through and processing right now. And so those comments are not helpful. And I just wanted you to be aware of that. But you can imagine, right? Like, he means no harm by it, but that's what I grew up hearing. And so where a lot of these things come from, we are conditioned by the environment in which we are raised. Mm-hmm. Incredible man never means any harm. But he doesn't realize the power of those jokes and those comments.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a cool moment for you as an adult to now go, okay, let me tell you how that makes me feel, because I'm sure there was many moments of that as a kid, you know, that you weren't mature enough to be able to say that or even understand how it made you feel. Mm-hmm. And
it was just, oh, okay, I'm overweight. That doesn't fit, whatever it is. And putting food in my body equals weight, and weight equals bad. So that was my thought process. And then there was sports involved in that, and having to be a certain size to be fast. I was always the fastest skater, and all of that stuff that plays into where I was at in my life.
Yeah.
And so it took a long time for me to lose that weight and have a healthy relationship with food in my body. And then all of a sudden, this beautiful little baby boy goes, oh, I'm just going to test you, mama.
Yeah. It's like a whole another level, a new season for you to heal on an even deeper level. And that's beautiful. I mean, the babies, the kids, they really are like the greatest teachers, and they bring you exactly what you need.
Yeah. I had my maternity photo shoot yesterday, and the photographer said, it's going to be hard for you to see your body like this, before we even took the photos. And I was like, why would it be hard for me to see my body like that? And so she's turning them around and showing me the photos. And I was just like, I look so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's not hard for me.
No.
Like, maybe it is for you, or maybe it is for a lot of other women. And yes, I'm working with this stuff, but like, I look so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting, right? How people will sometimes, you're going to feel this way.
And like project what they might feel.
Like, I don't feel that way at all. I actually feel like, I mean, I've done hundreds of photo shoots. And so this is the first time it looks this way. I'm like, but this is so special. Yeah.
Well, again, I'm really excited for you.
Thank you.
To step into motherhood and to watch that journey unfold.
I'm just excited to get my breath back. That's it.
I know that push on the ribs, like sitting down working, I can remember being like, oh. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this conversation today. It was amazing.
Thank you.
And if anyone wants to continue to tune into your work and watch what's going to unfold in your journey, where should they go? Yeah.
I used to always give social first, but I'm going to give the podcast because I just think that there's more impact in the voice. So the Business Savage is my podcast, and then at the.business.savage on social.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely follow, because I can't wait to see what you're launching in the next year plus. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.